Pretty devastating indictment, isn't it? No evidence, collusion, 11 months of media coverage. And now we've got CNN under fire. First, you've got this poor producer guy caught on tape. I mean, he's just telling the truth. Oh, yeah, we're told to go back to Russia, even though we know it's not true because it gets ratings.
Then why is CNN constantly like, Russia this, Russia that?
Because it's ratings. Because it's ratings? Our ratings are incredible right now.
Okay, and then Van Jones caught on tape. Russia's nothing, but contradicting what he says on the air. Listen.
What do you think's going to happen this week? I mean, with the whole Russia thing.
The Russia thing is just a big nothing burger.
Really? You don't think that...
There's nothing that you can do.
This is baffling to anybody with a functioning brainstem. I mean, we have to be honest about this. Yes, other presidents tried to say nice things about the Russians and other, warm things in their heart and they love, not in the face of an active attack on the country. Cyber war is real war. So you have an active attack on our country and you have the president-elect cannot find it in himself to say this is wrong and it needs to stop.
Oh, no, I was just saying that nobody is saying that the Russians hacked into every voting machine, changed the vote totals, etc. I do think that there's a concern here, and I know you probably want to speak to this. I just am surprised to hear Republicans minimizing it.
Right.
Listen, here's the deal. Democrats might want to make hay out of this, might want to jump up and down. That shouldn't be your concern. You're the governing party. You have both the House, the Senate, and the White House. So you have to be above all that and say, I don't care if Democrats or Smurfs or anybody else want to make a big deal about it. It's a big deal to me and my country, and we're not hearing that. That's shocking.
Former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich. He's also the author of the #1 New York Times bestseller, Understanding Trump, joins us now. Isn't this amazing now where we've come with all of this?
It's really astonishing when you do the work that you and your team did and you put all of those together. It's such a devastating indictment of the game that was played by the left. Such a clear vindication of Trump. And, of course, sets the stage to really wonder what President Obama was doing when he refused to tell the American people way back in August of last year of evidence that he supposedly had been given about Russian efforts to influence the election. I think that had he done that, I think that then candidate Trump would have joined then candidate Clinton in decisively condemning and repudiating what Putin was doing. So this whole thing is so bizarre, and you did such a good job just now of letting the audience listen to all these different players, each in their own way, saying there ain't nothing there.
And they say one thing privately, and then they say another thing publicly. And, I mean, how does CNN survive in anybody's mind as having any credibility, or frankly, NBC? I mean, it's so amazing, especially in light of all the attacks I've had my entire career, where I admit I'm a conservative, and I stand by the fact that people get more truth. Let me give you a quick, I was right about Obama. I was right back in my Richard Jewell days in Atlanta. I was right about Ferguson. I was right about Duke Lacrosse. I was right about Freddie Gray. I was right about what happened, down in Florida with George Zimmerman. I was right that Trump could win. We've been right so often, and we've been right about Russia and collusion. And we've been right on so many issues. They are so wrong so often. Why is it? Because they're so ideological? I didn't collude with the Clinton campaign during the last election. Did you?
No, look, let me say, the question you asked is really important. I think it's two different things. I think half of it is ideology, that they really are that far to the left. They live in an alternative universe. They really have different standards. But the other half of it is just pure, raw emotion. I think the folks on the left, the people at CNN and at MSNBC and elsewhere, they are so deeply emotionally upset by President Trump being in the White House, and they cannot get over it. And I think it blinds them and makes them think it's okay to do things that, of course, are just totally unacceptable, and it's beginning to catch up with them. That's why I think you've had 4 different people now fired at CNN for going, overboard.
Oh, no. They just resigned as a matter of course. I think they lied and used fake news about them saying they resigned. I don't even think that was true.
You think they didn't resign?
No, I think they were fired and paid money. That's my guess.
Right.
But the official
elegant way.
The official line is they resigned. I don't believe it.
Well, I think they resigned under extraordinary pressure.
Oh, okay. Okay, Mr. Clinton. It all depends what is.
No, that's a low. You go after me when I occasionally remind you that was a low blow.
No, that was about the lowest I've ever used against you. Absolutely true.
I think it is, actually.
Well, but you think about it. You sent out a fake news press release to get over the fake news problem that they got caught with. I mean, there's a certain irony to all of that.
I actually did not realize that, and I think it's hysterical.
Yeah,
because it's obvious these guys didn't just up and decide to resign.
No,
I mean, nobody believes that.
All three of them decided to resign the same day. Yeah, how much did they get paid to resign? That's what I want to know.
Right. In the middle of a scandal.
In the middle of a scandal. I think we'll get out. Now, this is all Jeff Zucker. Here's a bigger question. Because Jeff Zucker now has a credibility crisis. He hates the president. This is his own personal agenda. And now he's destroyed the CNN brand. Well, what about the shareholders? What about the head of Time Warner? At some point, do they ask questions? Why are you using our network for your own personal agenda to take down a president?
I think at some point, Time Warner will be forced to bring in somebody. I mentioned Michael Mukasey, the former attorney general, as an example. They're going to be forced to bring in somebody who is senior enough to review the whole corporate culture at CNN, because it's clear that Zucker has created a toxic environment for virtually everybody over there. And the result, you're exactly right. The result is they've taken the brand that Ted Turner built, and they have just literally driven it into the ground and made it almost a laughingstock.
No, I totally agree. All right, so then you have over at NBC, you don't have anything different, or the New York Times, you don't have anything different, or the Washington Post. They've all had to retract stories, and I think NBC is the worst. I mean, what is Matt Lauer, Megyn Kelly, what are their top anchors, Lester Holt and Tom Brokaw? What do they think of all of the bizarre conspiracy theories that are peddled every night by Rachel Maddow and company?
Well, I think they probably shrug them off. I mean, they get large enough checks, they're happy to show up in the morning.
So it's basically, so they really don't have, wait a minute, so that means that they're not so committed to journalism like they claim they are.
Well, no, let me draw a distinction. I mean, Brokaw is in an older tradition of, well, he's liberal, he's a serious journalist, and it's a little bit like Bob Schieffer. I mean, Schieffer was on CNN one night a couple weeks ago, and he was asked what he thought about President Trump's speech in Saudi Arabia. He said, I really thought he did a very effective job. He did represent America very well. And the banker who was interviewing broke in and said, aren't you in danger of normalizing him by talking that way? And she looked at him like he was crazy and said, well, actually, I was giving you an honest reporter's analysis. And I thought that's my job.
You know what? I'm not as willing to give these guys a pass considering the severity of the conspiracy theories advanced under the banner of what they work for their whole lives. And that is the credibility of NBC, or in the case of Schieffer, CBS News.
But that's why I'm just drawing a distinction. There's a generational break, I think. And you begin to get folks who didn't come out of that background, didn't have the kind of respect for Edward R. Murrow or for Walter Cronkite, et cetera. And I think the result is you have people who do what they're told.
Stay right there. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk more with the former Speaker of the House, author of Understanding Trump, #1 New York Times bestseller, Amazon.com, Hannity.com, bookstores everywhere. Which is with us. The things that I say are important to be, all right, now that we know Obama knew in August of 2016 and did nothing because he thought Hillary was going to win when Russia was meddling in our election, that seems to be needed to investigate. Loretta Lynch, the tarmac, it's not an investigation, and maybe she put the kibosh on everything. General Flynn was a victim of the Espionage Act. James Comey seemed to have violated the Records Act. Mueller seems to be conflicted all over the place, hiring Hillary's attorneys and people that donate to Obama and Clinton. And then you got Hillary. Not only do you have the Uranium One Clinton Foundation kickback scheme, but then you got the email server felonies that I'm certain she committed. Don't you think it's now time to shift the attention to real crimes, real issues, now that the Democrats want investigation so bad?
Well, look, I think just as a matter of American history and the long-term future of this country, I think there are three different tracks that come out of this. The first track is I really do believe that President Obama needs to show up and testify and take questions and explain this, and anybody else related to this whole strange experience where you had, it comes at three levels. One, they had information as early as August that they thought the Russians were trying to influence our election. 2, and they decided to keep it secret. 2, they were the sanctions that they considered were very tough. The sanctions they implemented were terribly weak. And 3, if they knew all this in August, why did they allow this entire dishonest smear campaign against Trump? Because they've had information all the way back in August. So I think that should absolutely appear before the congressional committees. I don't think it's a Justice Department issue. I think it's a basic knowledge of what's happening in America and what people are doing to us. Second, I think you're exactly right. This whole issue of Lynch, particularly given that we have testimony now from Comey, that in his judgment she was instructing him to use the same language as the Clinton campaign, and he felt very uncomfortable about it, combined with her having met with Bill Clinton in this weird meeting on the airport tarmac in Arizona the same week that they were about to interview Hillary. I think that probably should be both the Justice Department and a congressional investigation. But I want to raise a third, much broader issue. I think the Congress should really look at the whole question of foreign efforts to shape American politics and policy. The number of countries in the Middle East, for example, who give very, very large grants to universities in order to hire so-called experts who just happen to always be in favor of the countries that gave the money. I mean, there's a whole world here now of people trying to shape and influence our policies, hiring lobbyists, doing a variety of things, giving money to foundations, giving money to universities. Yeah. We should have a congressional investigation that looks at the totality of that.
Mr. Speaker, always thanks for being with us. Congrats on the book, Understanding Trump, 800-941-SEAN, our toll-free telephone number. Quick break. We'll come back.